Hello everyone, and welcome to the full review of this week's upcoming character, Pharm. She is War of the Vision's latest ninja main job unit with some very interesting abilities, playstyles, and uses. If you're interested in pulling her this Wednesday, or just want to know more about her, buckle up, because we're about to go everything about her. Alright then, starting off with our character overview of Pharm. She is a UR 90 cost water unit with move 4 and jump 3. Her main job is ninja, and her two sub-jobs are samurai and ranger. For equipment, her weapons are ninja blade, and she can equip hats, cloth, and accessories for her armor. She has the usual team buffs for water units in her mastery ability, with her personal ones giving herself 15 defense penetration and 5 evasion. She has an innate 20 fire resistance and 10 lightning weakness, being a water unit. For resistances, she takes an extra 5% from slash and 10% from piercing damage, while having resistances to both strike and missile by 10% and magic for 15%. Lastly, Pharm resists disarm and confusion by 50% and stun by 10%. Pharm's TMR is her kimono. It's a cloth armor piece that gives alright stats between the 10 accuracy and 15 evasion. The ability it gives, though, only gives 15 spirit and some spirit debuff resistance for 3 turns in a cross pattern with 2 casts. Personally, I think this TMR really doesn't offer enough to warrant the TMR slot for auto or manual battles, in my opinion. The stats are okay, but that's kind of about where it ends. The ability is subpar to many of the other really game state altering TMRs that are in the game. Onto the ability portion of the review, starting off with Pharm support and counter abilities. For support, I know they're in Japanese, sorry, but they're all abilities that we've at least seen before between Ninja's Shadowrunner and Shikuchi, Samurai's Blade Soul, and Ranger's Lore and Focus. There are multiple options you could pick with for all of these abilities. It really depends on if you're going to be focusing on an evasion build. You'll probably want something like Shadowrunner and Blade Soul. If you want a Ranger build, you'd probably pick something like Ranger's Lore and then either Blade Soul for the attack, Shadowrunner for speed, or Shikuchi for better positioning. You could technically pick Focus for the ranged missile attack, but in my opinion, I think it's the weakest and probably the option you're going to use the least for the support abilities. For reactions now, you see reflex there? You see reflex. I see reflex. You kind of take reflex. There would have to be some form of like crazy new reaction that I really probably haven't heard of to consider it over one of the best reactions in the game, like hands down, other than like Yuna's Eon Bond. There's very few ones that I would consider even close to on par with reflexes. We've all been there. We've lost games that we should have won because our opponent triggered a bunch of reflexes on their Freddy, Cloud, or insert any character that has reflex. Now for Pharm's main job abilities. And we're going to be starting off with, for me, is what makes her just a super appealing character in the first place, is her EX upgrade to her Shuriken. At range 5 and at 12 AP, this small damaging ability not only gives minus 30 accuracy to whoever it hits, it also strips guts and re-raise from the target. Doesn't matter if it hits or not, similar to Gilgamesh's Kotetsu. With how much of that is going around right now between Engelbert, Yuna, Zombie Mask being super prevalent, UR Zazan, this makes it for a very, very good counter pick depending on if you expect it in the meta that you're fighting against. Her other abilities for her main job being Hide, Shadowbind, Utsusemi. Her Dream Within Her Dream gets the second upgrade slot for herself, increasing the damage from minimal to small, as well as tacking on minus 30 defense and spirit for the unit that is hits. Overall, this will be a great ability that'll help build up that water or slash chain with it being 3 hits. And since it lowers both defense and spirit, it's going to help out. Doesn't matter what teammates you have, it's going to help out their damage, both magical and physical. And her final job, being her level 25 ability, is a cross-shaped team buff that boosts accuracy by 30%, AoE resistance by 15, and magical resistance by 20 for 3 turns. This is a super flexible buff and strong defensively. Just in its own right, giving a bit of accuracy against other evasion teams, as well as bolstering your defenses towards mages and a little bit towards physical AoEs. But it's just a lot of mages do a lot of big AoE damage, so you're going to get the AoE defense and that magic defense. It's a really good ability. For going over Pharm's 3 sub-job options, we're going to begin with her ninja sub-job, which has Poison Mist, Suiton, and Decider of Fate. The movement of Poison Mist can be useful as an engage or disengage, or just throwing poison on a foe that may be a bit too evasive for how Pharm's feeling for her accuracy right there. Suiton is the water non-type damaging ability that ninjas get. You'll notice that with ninjas, they may have different names but kind of do the same thing. Depending on the elemental type of the ninja, that'll change the name of that specific ability. So that's why you see some different things. For water, it would be Suiton. Which can be super useful for breaking through heavy resistance types targets like Engelbert or Warrior of Light that might be stacking really high slash resistance. So it just gives you something in there gives you a little bit of something extra to maybe deal that extra damage with her. And the final ability, Decider of Fate, gives you that one-turn buff that gives you that massive accuracy steroid, as well as guaranteeing that critical hit. If you're going to go up against other evasive teams, it could be a useful ability. Samurai Sub's main attractions are Illusion, Heian, and its 2 cross-shaped debuff attacks, Night Veil for the blind, and Oborozuki for the slow. Meditation, the Meditation Bravery up and Devotion's attack crit up are fine, but I don't think those are going to be the main focuses and draws that are going to make you choose Samurai over the other 2 options. Illusion is great if you're building for an evasion team, getting that cross pattern, being able to buff up all your teammates. Heian is a super cheap 12 AP, 3 range, medium damaging ability. It's going to be the best damage to AP ratio you can get almost on any character, which can be, really, really useful. The Night Veil and the Oborozuki abilities are good if you're going to try and do a little bit of AoE damage, which Pharm kind of lacks a little bit of, as well as potentially landing either that blind or that slow that could maybe help swing a fight in your direction. So if they can't hit her with the blind, or you start lapping them with that slow, or just any sort of AoE damage, they're useful things to have in your little back pocket. And lastly, the Ranger sub-job. Unfortunately, Pharm doesn't gain access to Barrage here, so she loses the big AoE missile damage, but she does get to keep the all-important Sharp Shot and Reflex. All the other Ranger abilities really don't kind of matter in this situation. It's pretty much usually Sharp Shot, Barrage, and Reflex. So Sharp Shot's going to be the main appeal here for the Ranger sub. Technically, though, Vigilance has some possibilities due to her naturally having a really high evasion anyways, and it kind of acts as another cast of Utsusemi, which could be really helpful if you're just getting into a bad position, you want to evasion up for a turn, and then being able to swing back the following turn. Out of our 3 options, I don't think I would ever actually choose the ninja sub-job. I would definitely stick to Samurai if I was building my team for evasion, or I would go for Ranger for most other situations, be it tanky or a missile team. Pharm's limit break is Plumage Pummel. It decreases water resistance by 25% at max level, boosting all your teammates' damage, if you happen to be running multiple water units, that is, while giving a high chance of landing paralysis on your targets. The range, though, is indeed pretty short with only a 2 range reach, but the paralysis, with the high chance of landing paralysis, it could be worth the attempt to get close to the enemy to try and enfeeble them and take them out of the game for 3 turns. Now on to the equipment portion of the review. We've really only got one weapon that's kind of worth Pharm's time, and that's going to be the Sasuke's Katana. Seeing as ninjas don't have a UR weapon yet, or really any secondary MR ones, Sasuke's Katana is going to be the biggest increase of damage for Pharm that she can get at this point in time in Global, or really in JP as well. Moving quickly along to armors, we're going to be starting off with Sage's hats. As it stands right now, this is the bread and butter for any sort of evasion character that can wear it. For Global, again, this is the best option that we have if your character can wear hats. If your character cannot wear hats, a ribbon is still the go-to for most plate or helmet wearing users in the game right now. If you want to go for a more bruiser or tanky direction, I would kind of recommend Platinum Robe. Having good HP, defense, and missile resistance, this body piece will help you survive a bit more against those clouds or Freds, sharpshooting them with their 100% accuracy, who are both also just natural lightning counters to the poor water farm. Right now, I'm going to mention two pieces of gear that are technically not out yet in Global, but will make the other two pieces that we just talked about kind of redundant when they release. The first one we're going to be talking about right here is the Christmas coat. A piece of gear that we really should have had for a while now. JP kind of screwed us on that one, since this is supposed to be released basically a year ago. But should hopefully be joining us sometime in December. Closer to Christmas, makes sense. Christmas coat, like, hopefully that comes out, and that will take the current crown for the best evasion piece of gear for cloth-wearing characters. The second piece of gear that isn't out yet is going to be this one right here. Again, I don't know the name, but this piece of gear right here is a great mix of evasion while still being better than the Sage's hats in terms of pure evasion, and it gives 20 defense penetration. This, in my opinion, would probably be the go-to armor piece for Pharm. Like, even unless you're going pure full evasion, this, I would say, is probably the best piece of gear for her in terms of damage, in terms of getting that balance of that extra defense, and just the evasion in general. This is going to be really good when it comes out. If you're planning on running an armor TMR and need an accessory slot, here are some options to include potentially. Starting off with Tidus's necklace, giving some extra resistance to magic while also giving that 15 crit damage is always going to be a welcome addition. Just to get that little bit of extra damage, get a little bit of beef. Defense Bracer is always an easy suggestion if you're going to be going for more of the bruiser style build and don't really want to get lit up too hard by Fred or Cloud's missile attacks, even though they're probably going to do that anyways, but you're trying to get as much defense as you can, so this will give you a decent alternative to tanking up your little water ninja. Now on to TMRs, and, well, we're usually going to start with this one because it's pretty much an auto-occlude for almost every character, Aziza's Illusionary Bells. Pharm Shuriken is not very AP hungry, so realistically you could give this to another unit, but the stats and never having to worry about AP, it's kind of an easy auto-include for anyone. Katone's Sega Gauntlets is going to be our second TMR of choice. With the agility and the evasion stats on it, plus the move and jump +1 ability, depending on if you have Shikuchi or not, you could technically have your Pharm's movement up to move 6 and jump 5 for some crazy mobility, just being able to go wherever she wants around the map. Luel's TMR, Sage's Beret, is a really fun TMR that could pair well with the Samurai sub for Pharm, giving your party a second evasion team buff with the cross-shaped 35% luck up. And with her armor slot being taken up by this, you would have to have the ribbon accessory if you wanted to still keep going for a full evasion gear. This is the only scenario in my head that really went with ribbon over those top two new body pieces, or even Sage's hat. Again, if you're trying to go for if you're trying to go for an evasion set, we're going to be getting those two new armor body pieces soon. So that's the real reason why I didn't include ribbon in the accessory portion of this review. I just think there's going to be other things that are going to be more important for Pharm. You still could do it. You still could go Sage's hat. You still could go ribbon if you want. But that's just my reasoning behind not including ribbon in the accessory portion. For this next TMR, why not give Pharm one of the things she's best at removing? Re-raise with the zombie mask. Global buff allowing it to be equipped by literally anyone. It makes it kind of an option again for any units. Re-raise is never going to be a bad thing. Guts is never going to be a bad thing. So until they put Guts on a TMR, the zombie mask is always going to be a good pick. The last TMR for Pharm today is going to be Summer Kill Phase Exotic Pero. This is aimed at a bit more towards the tanky version of Pharm, giving her shell and a healthy dump of extra AP to start the fight off with. With it having 2 casts and it also being an agility TMR is one thing that I always like to look at in TMRs. Does it give agility? I like it. Is the ability useful? I like it even more. So again, these are all the TMRs that I'm going to play around with my head for Pharm. For the S proportion here, we're going to be covering 3 of them. And those would be Odin, Chimera, and Kraken. Starting us off with Odin, let alone with being one of the most flexible Espers to spec their boards for any physical unit. As it stands right now, I haven't built to be super tanky for my Engelbert or my Warrior of Light, but in the suggested tree path that I have on screen right here, I have it built more towards damage for Pharm. With the highest agility of any Esper in the game, you can pretty much put Odin on anyone if you really, really wanted to. That high agility, that man-eater, you could go tank. Odin is extremely flexible, and it's kind of hard to build him wrong. Esper number 2 is going to be Chimera. Chimera is the second Esper to have the extended evasion tree besides Tetrasulfid. For the tree pass here, I've gone with maxed out evasion and slash attack while throwing the leftovers for critical damage, accuracy, and some light resistance to lower its native -10 light a little bit. Again, Chimera is a fantastic pick if you really want to lean into evasion. Otherwise, I'd maybe want to stick to one of the other 2 on the list. And the final Esper is going to be the Kraken. The Kraken is a great water Esper for slash units. Personally, I really like this Esper on Tidus with the slash and water attack paths, as well as all of that beautiful crit damage. The agility is sitting towards the middle of the spectrum for most Espers, and the 20% resistance to slow isn't completely wasted, as it's not the worst effect to have resistance to. Another issue with Kraken maybe is that if you're expecting a bunch of lightning opponents, this will kind of further Pharm's weakness to lightning by adding an additional -10% taken from them. If you expect to see a lot of lightning, I'd maybe stick to Odin for the non-evasive team comps, and then if you're going to run a heavy evade team, throw Chimera on her. For teammates, I'm going to be doing this slightly differently than Oberon. I'll be going over team ideas for teammates rather than just going like naming each individual character here. There are so many different combinations that you could possibly come up with that I possibly don't have enough time to go over every single combo that Pharm could work for. I just want to give you some ideas on who to pair her with or what would be some fun teams. For my first 2, I've decided to go with Tidus and Aerith for a full water team that's more focused on slash damage, a bit tankier, with access to healing, quicken, and full team haste. Tidus and Pharm would act as the front line, buff each other up with things like Tidus' Heiska and Pharm's level 25 ability to increase their speed and survivability, where Aerith can stay back, assisting with either re-raise, quicken, heals, or if the enemy team decides to kind of break through your defenses, Aerith can kind of hold her own in terms of her magical damage. The second team comp is going to be Lara Croft and Winter Victoria. With Pharm having access to Ranger sub, she's able to join these other 2 main Ranger ladies and shoot your foes from a good distance before they even get to you. Pharm also naturally pairs well with Lara, as they're both evasive units, and Laura's vision card works perfectly for both of them in this exact comp. The final team idea is a bit more of a concept than exact units. Units like 2B, Zazan, Elena, and Kiton down there are all evasive units, so that you can do, and they can all do massive slash damage, so it pairs well with Pharm. So just because they're different elements than Pharm doesn't mean you can't make a team of just all-around evasion. You just have to be more picky about what vision card selection you're going to use to be able to get all of their evasion to an acceptable level to really make it worth your while. Because if you're not dodging a lot or not really pushing your opponent to have enough accuracy, it's kind of not worth your time. For vision cards, I'm gonna sort of suggest 5 vision cards that work well with Pharm for one reason or another. Starting us off is the Lara Croft card. I knew Pharm was coming out, but at the time I didn't notice how good Lara and Pharm actually pair up with, how well they actually pair up with one another. Unfortunately, I didn't 4-star this card, but if you did, this comp should honestly be a lot of fun. The missile attack 35 and the luck 35% both fit the gunner and evasion combo that Pharm would love. Even without Lara, the card gives an additional 10% attack and 10 crit damage, as well as a natural 3 agility, even if you don't put it on Lara. The second vision card is going to be Tune-Up Time. Tune-Up Time is going to give all your water units 25 human killer when using physical attacks. The additional 20 single target resistance 13 accuracy is a welcome bonus in this situation. If Pharm was going to hold this, she'd get herself 10% attack and also 10% magic resistance. So this card could easily be used for both your range, evasion teams, or a tanky slash team. Just, it would be more towards mono water. Sutakidane is the third vision card recommendation for Pharm if you're getting her more on that slash damage with its plus 35 modifier to slash and 13 crit rate, with the more useful 25 HP for all your water units. Technically, this card is kind of made for Tidus, so if you want to pair... Technically, this card is made for Tidus, so if you want to pair him with Pharm, I would recommend giving this card specifically to Tidus, but there's kind of no reason she can't make use of it as well, as it gives 30% attack bonus when given to any water unit, while still helping the rest of her team. The last single card I'm going to recommend for Pharm is going to be Thanks for the Votes vision card. The appeal for this one is that the plus 35 water attack and 13 accuracy, it's going to boost any water ally you're going to be pairing her with. Doesn't matter. Physical, magic, it's a flat 35 water, so as long as it's paired with other water units, it's going to do some extra damage. Unfortunately, the 2500 max damage increase is kind of unrealistic in PvP situations as it stands right now. But Pharm will still be saying thank you for the 15% HP for herself, as well as a total of 5 agility just from equipping the card is going to help her speed around the battlefield even quicker. The last cluster of vision cards you see here is kind of what I call the neutral evasion group. Shiva giving 20 evasion, Secrets of the Heart giving 35% luck, and either Black Rose of the Battlefield or Scion of House Beowulf covering the 15% agility are the go-to kind of trifecta of evasion vision cards if you're not going to get elemental specific. As shown in the teammate selection, if you wanted to run a full evasion team of different elements, you would run a combination of these 3 cards. Example being like you are Zazan holding the Secrets of the Heart to be able to get that extra 10% earth attack for himself, Elena holding Shiva to make use of that large magic stat on it, and then giving Scion of House Beowulf to farm herself to get that 10 slash attack bonus on the card, as well giving your Elena 35% slash attack because Scion of House Beowulf gives that extra 35 slash to all light units. So see what team you would want to use and fit these vision cards on who works best with the stats and the individual bonuses given on them. My final thoughts on Pharm is that she's really the last permanent pullable unit that we get for the foreseeable future, even in JP. We're about to get swamped with limited after limited units from here on out. So personally, I'm going to be saving and just obtaining her through pulls and through basically going through other things for all these other limited things. I'll get her eventually. That doesn't mean she's not great units with unique ability to remove both guts and re-raise. She'll be invaluable if you can build teams to really hunt down and target those that rely on that mechanic. She'll rip them apart really, really well. If we had unlimited resources, I would absolutely try to run Pharm and Lara Croft team that I was mentioning earlier, or even the Aerith Tidus Pharm team. But as it stands right now, there are just so many other things coming out that we can't pull forever. You can, but I'm not going to be able to pull absolutely everything I want. And there's some things coming real soon, like the Final Fantasy 15, that are going to take priority for me, or even the Final Fantasy 6, or you run the Final Fantasy 4. There's so many different options. I hope that you found my Pharm review helpful, be it for its different teams, or even different build ideas. If you're hoping to pull her on Wednesday, or maybe I swayed your decision to save, who knows? We've also been shown in the notes that we're receiving Noctis and Prompto real soon, so you can look forward to both of those full reviews, and they're currently in the works. Thanks to everyone who enjoyed my Oberon and this guide. Seems like you guys really enjoy my reviews. kind of over my news. I get it. I get it. Reviews are more fun to watch, and the news kind of. I'll try and spice them up a little bit. I'll try and shake it up. If you've made it this far into the video and you're listening to me right now, leave a comment down below, strictly saying shurikens are sweet. It'll kind of be our little secret that you made it in this deep and you're still paying attention. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And you can click that link down below to come say hi on Twitch. I'm streaming a lot more consistently and would love to see you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Best of luck on saving or spending on Wednesday, depending on what path you may have picked for Pharm. Later, everyone.